Welcome everyone to our latest in our series of knowledge sprints. There we go. Thank you very much, Raya. My name's Ben Aylett. I'm the product manager for Red Piranha, and I'm joined with Brendan, who's from our compliance and security team. We've also got Raya in the background, making sure things run smoothly. You'll also notice we are missing one person. Unfortunately, Anthony couldn't be with us due to illness, so we wish him all the best. Hope he gets well very soon. This knowledge sprint is about Microsoft Defender, Azure, and how Crystalline all works in with this. But a quick start, as always, a quick introduction about what Red Piranha is about and what Crystalline is all about as well. So Red Piranha was founded in 2015 when our CEO and founder, Adam Bennett, just got to a point of frustration where there wasn't a really good solution when it came to delivering holistic cybersecurity to the small end of town. So the big businesses could fund the teams and the technology in order to get the protection and also the incident response thing, but the smaller businesses were constantly left behind. So this led to the design and launch of Crystalline. So this is our cybersecurity platform and pretty much the crown jewel of the organisation. This was launched in 2018 and has continued to evolve over the years. We've also worked very hard to get our certifications and partnerships in line. So we are CREST certified. We've also attained our ISO IEC 9001 and 27001 certification and maintained it, which I can assure you is no small feat. We're also very proud members of Team Defence Australia, and we're also very pleased to say that we are members of the Cyber Threat Alliance. So we contribute to the global cyber threat intelligence, along with a lot of organisations around the world. And in fact, we are one of the two organisations in the Southern Hemisphere who have actually been invited to contribute to the Cyber Threat Alliance. This is also work towards our SOC as a service, where we can provide almost like a turnkey security operations centre, where we can provide not only the technology but also the people to allow you to have your own standalone SOC. Now, just to reiterate, as we have with pretty much every other presentation we've done, cybersecurity is not a one and done solution. You can't take a simple product or a technology and just drop it in a rack, turn on the switch and you're done. It is a constant evolution. So we try to make sure this is very clear that it's not just a simple thing. It's a cyclical journey where we go through and we look at our policy, our awareness and education, and we keep going through this cycle to constantly evolve and meet the challenges of the evolving threat landscape and also constantly build on our maturity level. So hopefully that explains that there. Now, this knowledge sprint is going to be about Microsoft Azure Stack and how Crystalline works with it. We'll also be looking at some policies and be making some suggestions that you could probably consider incorporating yourself to help with your security stance within the Microsoft stack. And then we'll be looking at deploying policy and increasing investigation capability as well. With that, I'll be handing over to Brendan. Thanks very much, Brendan. Over to you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ben. All right, so we'll begin first and foremost probably with the main question a lot of you would have, which is why would I connect Crystalline to the Microsoft stack? So to answer that question, let's look at two of the major benefits of this integration. So first and foremost, this integration offers you greater control over log retention. Just as a bit of background, the Australian Signals Directorate's Information Security Manual has recently been updated with a specific requirement for event logs to be retained in a searchable manner for at least 12 months. Now, while the minimum requirement is 12 months, the ASD's own strategies to mitigate cybersecurity incidents actually recommend an event log retention period of at least 18 months, or potentially even longer where specific regulatory requirements apply. Now, it can be difficult and costly to meet these logging requirements and recommendations where Microsoft licensing is concerned, with E3 licenses only offering 90 days of log retention by default, and E5 licenses offering a bit more of a generous 12-month log retention, which does meet that 12-month requirement, but not exactly the 18-month best practice recommendation. Crystalline, on the other hand, offers as much local log storage on the device itself as storage capacity allows. Eventually, log rotation will occur and the oldest logs will be replaced when the drive fills up, but every Crystalline sends logs to CSOC, which is our in-house SOC solution monitored 24/7 by our SOC team. And by default, logs sent to CSOC have an 18-month log retention period, which comprises of 6 months hot storage, 12 months warm storage, and extra cold storage available as an additional option. On top of that, if you have a Platinum SIEM subscription, additional log types are sent to CSOC, including your Microsoft 365 logs. So you get to benefit from that 18-month log retention period of your Microsoft logs without having to pay for additional storage from Microsoft themselves. Now, the secondary benefit there as well is that you gain visibility of all your logs from a single pane of glass. That would be through that CSOC solution. So in addition to the log retention requirements, the Information Security Manual also has another new requirement for a centralized event logging facility to be implemented with Essential 8 Maturity Level 2, which is effectively derived from the Information Security Manual, also featuring requirements for centralized logging of specific event types, including successful and unsuccessful multi-factor authentication events, allowed and blocked application control events, privileged access events, command line process creation events, and a handful of others. Crystal can facilitate these requirements by giving you visibility over logs from that single pane of glass. And if you're doing manual monitoring, this allows you to correlate logs ingested from Microsoft with the network and IDPS logs from Crystal. If you have a Platinum SIEM subscription, again, this will also greatly benefit the managed detection and response process undertaken by our SOC team by enabling proactive analysis and detection of suspicious events and effectively reducing the time taken to respond to incidents. So with that being said, let's have a look at Defender for Endpoint. I'm sure a lot of you are probably already familiar with this product, but for those who don't know, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is an endpoint security solution that helps protect your organization's devices from cyber threats by leveraging advanced technologies like artificial intelligence, behavior monitoring, and threat intelligence to detect, investigate, and respond to attacks across your network. So in terms of some best practice implementations for Defender, you might be wondering, well, where do I start? Luckily, Defender for Endpoint has or features security baselines, which are a predefined set of Defender configurations based on best practice implementations that align specifically with cybersecurity benchmarks like the Center for Internet Security's CIS 8.1 framework. So by simply applying the security baseline, you are already meeting best practice requirements from a well-recognized cybersecurity framework. These baselines offer a fantastic starting point for implementing best practice endpoint detection and response configurations across your organization's endpoint devices. And it also enables continuous compliance monitoring and real-time detection of deviations from the baseline. Additionally, the baselines can be customized to suit your organization's requirements. As you go through and set up the baseline, you still need to go through all the normal steps of uh, implementing Defender policies. So you can make adjustments as needed to suit your specific business's needs. Now, following on from that, we have block at first sight protection. This requires configuration of a handful of specific settings. And I will note here that if you have Defender Plan 2, which is automatically included in E5 licenses or can be purchased as an add-on to an E3 license, block at first sight protection will automatically be configured as part of that security baseline, but you can also configure it manually. Once it has been configured, it effectively allows you to leverage Defender's real-time behavior monitoring and cloud protection functionality to detect, analyze, and block malicious and suspicious files within seconds. When a user attempts to open a file, particularly one downloaded from the internet, block at first sight checks the file's hash against the cloud protection backend, and if the file is unrecognized, it is then prevented from executing, and a sample will be sent to the cloud for further analysis, where techniques like heuristics and machine learning will be applied to determine whether the file poses a threat, in which case it will be blocked from executing. This effectively offers you a level of protection against zero-day threats. Defender also allows you to configure attack surface reduction rules. So this is an excellent way for you to really lock down some of those common attack vectors utilized by threat actors to try and execute malware on your system and obtain persistence. Defender offers an extensive list of ASR rules that can be implemented, a number of which actually help you meet specific Essential 8 requirements, specifically ASR rules that block Office 365 apps from creating child processes and ones that block Office applications from creating executable content. Some additional ASR rules that we would recommend that you implement would be the blocking of executable content from email clients and webmail, blocking scripts from launching downloaded executable content, blocking untrusted processes that run from USB devices, and blocking persistence via Windows Management Instrumentation event subscription. I will also take this opportunity to point you to CEASR, which is Crystal Eye Attack Surface Reduction. That is an application that is included with your Crystal Eye. You can download it onto desktops directly from the Crystal Eye UI. I will actually show you how to implement a CEASR policy towards the end of the presentation. But CEASR offers a lot of these ASR rules as well directly from your Crystal Eye. Okay, we'll move on now to Entra ID, formerly known as Azure Active Directory. Again, just for those who aren't aware, Entra ID is a cloud-based identity and access management service that helps your organization securely manage user identities and control access to various applications, data, and Microsoft resources. So we've got just a handful of best practice implementations here. This is by no means an extensive list, but some general best practice implementations we would recommend, starting with multi-factor authentication. So MFA is pretty much an essential these days, and something that is universally featured as a best practice control in most cybersecurity frameworks, including, again, that CIS 8.1 and Essential 8, and even ISO 27001 as a requirement for secure authentication mechanisms to be implemented, sort of hinting at you need MFA without saying you need MFA. So Entra policies can be created to enforce MFA requirements for a number of different scenarios, whether that be for all users accessing Office 365 applications, for all instances of administrator access, or for specific user, group, or role access to a specific resource. You can actually also now through Entra enforce phishing-resistant multi-factor authentication. Entra also allows us to push conditional access policies that allow us to block access from unsupported platforms. So remote access to company resources have become a bit of an operational necessity with many organizations adopting work from home arrangements and having needs to travel as part of work. And there are obviously a number of risks associated with making company resources available remotely, such as potentially unauthorized access to data, data loss, or data theft. But thankfully, we can configure various conditional access policies to gain granular control over access to our Microsoft 365 environment, such as blocking access from unsupported platforms. As an example here, you might want to prevent staff members or, well, anyone else for that matter, from being able to access Office 365 applications from their mobile phones. And this is a policy that we can very easily configure from Entra. And again, I'll actually be showing you a demonstration of how we can push this kind of policy directly from the Crystal Eye. And then just in terms of our final recommendation here for Azure best practice would be insider threat protection. So insider threats and rogue employees are unfortunately very real, and they've actually accounted for roughly 8% of notifiable data breaches as per 2024 reporting from the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner. Fortunately, we can configure insider threat protection policies in Entra. This type of policy, again, leverages behavioral analytics and machine learning to detect behaviors that are abnormal or suspicious when compared to typically observed behavior for a particular user, and then subsequently blocks these actions from being executed. Some examples of behaviors that would trigger this policy include mass file downloads or a particular employee emailing several files to an external domain. Oops, so I will actually switch over now to Crystal Eye. Bear with me for 1 second. Okay, so in your Crystal Eye UI, on the menu on the left here, under Compliance Controls, there will be a submenu for Microsoft 365. From here, you can access the M365 Policy Manager, which, when linked to your Entra tenant, allows you to push conditional access policies directly from the Crystal Eye. So if we have a look at our Entra tenant, we can see we currently do not have any conditional access policies configured. So let's have a look at configuring that mobile device form that I just mentioned. So we'll create a new policy. We'll name it block access from mobile phones. Now we can apply this to specific users or to all users. For the purposes of demonstration, we'll apply it to all users. We want this to apply to all cloud apps. And over here on the right-hand side under conditions, we can include specific device platforms. So we want to be blocking access from mobile devices. So we'll include Android, iOS, and Windows Phone. And for granting access here, we want to block access. So we'll add this policy. It will show up in a second, but we click the Sync Policies button here when it shows up. Apologies, let me just refresh the page. There we go. So yeah, we can sync the policy here, and then it should sync with our tenant. So if we come over here now and refresh Entra, it will ask me to log in again. Here we can see we have the Crystal Eye block access from mobile phones policy. It's currently set to report only, but we can either enable it directly from Entra or just by editing the actual policy in Crystal Eye. Now, I also mentioned CEASR for pushing attack surface reduction rules. So you can access CEASR by going to the risk auditing option under compliance controls in your Crystal Eye. And you'll have a option here for Windows CEASR. So from here, you can directly download the CEASR app for Windows. And once that's been configured on your endpoint devices, you can effectively create your policies in this window and push them directly to your devices with the CEASR app installed. So let's have a look at creating a policy that blocks macros from Microsoft Office. So we'll say block Office macros. And over here on the right-hand side, we have all the various options that for rules that you can implement with CEASR, but we're looking specifically for attack surface reduction rules. So as you can see, some of the options that are currently available to us are block Office code, block Office executable, block Office child process, block Office macro, block obfuscated scripts, block script downloading, and block email executable. A lot of these will help you meet some of those Essential 8 requirements that we touched on earlier. So for the purposes of this demonstration, we want to block Office macros. So we'll simply add this policy. Oh, my apologies, there is a naming convention. Okay, we have the policy here now, and now it's just a matter of pushing the policy, and the policy will now be applied to all of our devices with the CEASR application installed. Okay, I will now hand over to Ben.
All right, thanks very much, Brendan. So that's about everything. I'm sure you're glad you're able to now get a drink, Brendan. You're sounding a bit dry towards the end there. But yeah, if you want to see more of these knowledge sprints, you can find them at our Red Piranha Sec channel on YouTube. And we've also got our free and on-demand training and certification. So you just visit store.redpiranha.net and just look for the training menu on the left-hand side towards the bottom. If you've got any queries about sales, there's the email address there, sales@redpiranha.net. General inquiries to info and technical support. So if you are a Crystal Eye customer or a Red Piranha customer, you get your support by emailing support@redpiranha.net. For more events, we actually do have some more events coming up. The next one coming up will be the refresh of our Crystal Eye 5.5 sorry, no, you've got the Raya, it's 5.5, not 5.0. We've got our 5.5 refresh coming very soon for our Crystallized Certified Engineer training. This is for your more technical staff that need more advanced instruction on how to use some of the features. And we've also got another knowledge sprint coming up very soon in regards to a new feature called DAS, or Declarative Authorization Service. So we're actually very, very excited about that one. That's going to be very cool. We also have a forum, so if you want to join our community and share tips, tricks, keep up to date with our software updates and whatever, feel free to go to forum.redpiranha.net and get yourself an account sorted out there. Now's a good time for us to throw open the floor to any questions people might have. If you do have questions, please type them in the chat on the left-hand side. I forgot that I've had my camera turned off during this whole time. Apologies for that. Samir has come up with a question. Where are the logs from M365 kept? So yeah, I can speak to that. Brendan, if you've got any more to add, you're more than welcome to. But we basically keep the logs on the Crystal Eye appliance itself. Now, the Crystal Eye appliances, they have more storage than most appliances on the market. And there is also the option at the time of purchase to get extended storage. So depending on the device, you can get anywhere up to 8 terabytes and beyond in extended storage. So this really opens up the, I suppose, the amount of time or the amount of logs you can keep on a single appliance. And anything else you think you can add to that, Brendan?
Yeah, so that 18-month log retention period effectively applies to the M365 logs that are ingested into CSOC, but as Ben said, the logs themselves are also maintained locally on your device.
Yeah. Yeah, so and this basically means that you don't have to pay Microsoft's prices for extended log retention, which I'd imagine is quite a bit. All right. Do we have any other questions before we wind up? Yep. All right. Well, that looks like the presentation. We are done. And I'd like to thank you all for joining us. And remember, please, stay safe out there. If you want any more information, just find us at redpiranha.net. Thank you all for joining us, and we will catch you next time.
Thank you very much, everyone.